Hey, how's it going, Bible Talk family? Welcome back to Bible Talk. Excuse my dirty hat. It's that time of year where we're all just working really hard, making sure things are looking good for the warmer weather coming. If you guys don't know, I work for the parks. And so I work with dirt. I maintain baseball fields, so that's my job. But just want to take a little time on my lunch break to share a promise. We're going and talking about 50 promises that are found in the Bible. Today is promise number 13, and today's promise is found in Romans. It's Romans 8:28. Now, this is a verse that a lot of people know, a lot of people quote, and it's a great promise, and that is, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. What's so amazing about this promise is that Paul is talking to a group of people here who are going through a lot of hard times. And it's not always easy for them to understand or see exactly what God is doing in their lives or what is their purpose. And this whole chapter, Paul's talking about human experience and divine promise. He's going back and forth on the two, and he's trying to show how there is a divine promise for our human experience that we're going through. And the question that comes up when you talk about this verse, at least for me, is just, how do I know that all things work together for good? Paul says, and we know. This is saying that this is an absolute truth, that we already know this to be true. And that question is, how do we know this to be true? At least, how did they know this to be true? These people didn't have Romans 8:28. It's really easy for us to sit back and say, oh, it must be true because we have the Bible and the Bible says it to be true. But Paul's talking to a group of people who don't yet have the New Testament. And so how did they know that all things work together for good? I mean, after all, they're being tortured, burned alive by the king of the time. They're being chased out of their lands. They're being persecuted. They're being ridiculed, mocked, hated on all sides. The Romans hated them, and their own Jewish people hated them because they followed this person named Jesus. So it's hard for them to see that all things work together for good. But yet what Paul is saying here, and you see this later on in this chapter, is Romans, you go down to verse 32, and Paul talks about the cross. And so what Paul's saying is that, how do we know that all things work together for good? Because Jesus Christ came in human form and died on the cross for you individually. And if God loved you enough to die for you on the cross, you better believe that all things work together for good, even if we don't know what that thing is. Even if we can't see what it is, even in the Old Testament, the people, you look at the, my goodness, I can't think right now, but you look at the stories in the Old Testament and you see that even they knew that even though hard things were happening, the prophets, there you go, I can't think of that word, my goodness. But the prophets knew that things were working together for good, even though you look at people like Jeremiah. I feel bad for Jeremiah because he spent his whole ministry without one convert. People hated Jeremiah. And that's why he ended up writing Lamentations, because you spend your whole ministry without one convert, and you can get a little depressed, I think. But he didn't know the impact he would have, and we still quote him today because God knew exactly what he was using Jeremiah for. It wasn't for those people of that time, because those people at that time were just a little bit too far gone. But God knew that there would be something coming in the future that would that people would need to hear. And those people of that time did need to hear it. They just weren't ready to hear it. They wanted to hear fluffy messages. They wanted to hear prophets who were going to tell them how good things are, and prophets who were going to bless their kingdoms and bless their land and the food. They didn't want to hear the truth. And I find that to be, I think through all ages, but in my life, I find it true. We look at the church and we don't hear a lot of convicting type of messages anymore, at least not in the mainstream church. we hear a lot of feel-good messages, but there is no there is no conversion without conviction. And so I don't know what the future is for the church. Right now, there's a war going on. And I know I'm rambling, I'm getting a little off topic, but I'm going to pull this back to the text. I don't know what's going to go on, but I know that things are working together for the good, at least for those who love God and who are the called according to his purpose. But I could rant on right now, but I won't. But I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening, and until next time.